Let me just get your reaction to what we saw last night.
Last night was appalling thuggery from a mindless small minority of people that do not represent the people of Sunderland, and who are intent on sowing hate and division among our community. That won't succeed, and I'm delighted that the police are rightly throwing the full force of the law at those people.
How are you able to talk to those within the group there? Because not everyone, of course, was rioting. Talk to the people within the group who say that they have some kind of grievance against parts of society.
Grievance against what, sorry?
Against parts of society, Lewis. People have been feeling, the argument has been made that some people are feeling disenfranchised. Now, not all people who are rioting. Some people have been feeling left out of society and not spoken to and removed from some of the conversation. I'm wondering how you try and bring communities back together.
Well, this morning in Sunderland, we saw an example of the community coming together as hundreds of us turned up spontaneously with brooms and cleared the city centre. People from all parts of Sunderland, people from the Bangladeshi community, international students. That's the community of Sunderland coming together. That's what we saw this morning. There were tragic events in Southport earlier this week with the murder of those 3 young girls. Nothing about that is in any way connected with what the violent thuggery that we saw last night. I want, and the government wants, every community and every person in this city and in this country to feel safe. That goes for all of our communities. People that call themselves so-called patriots and then proceed to throw things at police and smash windows are absolutely not patriots. People that love this country and this city are the ones that turned up this morning and that called out.
Mm-hmm. Now, you'll know that there are calls to prescribe the English Defence League as a result of what's happened yesterday in Sunderland and this last week. Do you support those calls that group needs to be prescribed?
Listen, my understanding is that EDL no longer exists as an organisation, but clearly I would support any steps, as I know the Home Secretary will be looking at, to really crack down on any extremist groups. We did have flags in the mob last night of EDL splinter groups from the northeast, which again just emphasises the point that these people were not representative of the people of Sunderland, they were a mob.
And what do you want to see happen? I mean, we've seen from the chief superintendent who spoke earlier at the news conference that more arrests are likely to be made.
Absolutely. Just because people didn't get arrested last night doesn't mean that the full force of the law won't be coming down on them today and in subsequent days. I'm really heartened that the police have got lots of CCTV from both the police and from businesses around the city. They'll be working through that, I know, throughout the weekend. The government clearly and the Home Secretary has ensured that extra Crown prosecutors are available over the weekend to get those charging decisions done as quickly as possible. So I want to see the full force of the law, zero tolerance for anyone involved in the violent and unacceptable disorder that we saw last night and that we've seen, unfortunately, in several other places around the country.
Are you expecting there to be more demonstrations today in Sunderland?
Not in Sunderland. Clearly there is a continued police presence, both for reassurance and as they continue their investigations and work from last night. The intelligence that I've been told is that we're not currently expecting further demos, but clearly the police keep everything under review. It's a fairly fast-moving situation. I am assured from the Chief Constable and others that the resources are available to respond appropriately to any further attempts at continuing what happened last night.
What is it about Sunderland that meant that this situation broke out last night?
I'm not sure there was anything specific about Sunderland. I think it so happened that a spontaneous gathering was organised and then members of the far right jumped on the back of that. We had Stephen Yaxby-Lennon publicising it, we had others, and because we were unfortunately the only such event last night, whereas I think there's quite a lot of others potentially this weekend, I think people who were minded to join such thuggery came from outside the city to join that.
Okay,
of course, I understand that there's some people.
Go on, finish your point, because I want to get to why Sunderland was a place where this happened.
Well, because the far right try and find anywhere in the country where they think they might be receptive, and you know, Sunderland's a working class town with a proud history and a great future ahead of itself. People are working on stereotypes of Sunderland, and when they pour into the city, then that's what they're trying to do. But they don't represent the city. What we saw today in the city is the real Sunderland, people coming together to clean up from every community. And I'm doing this interview stood, you know, among the building sites of Sunderland, because we're a city on the up. We've got so much going on here, and we've got a bright future, and those people are working on an outdated stereotype of Sunderland that don't represent us and don't understand the city.
And let's just be clear then, what is the outdated stereotype that these people are working on? Because there's got to be a reason why members of the EDL and members of this Northeast Infidels thought that Sunderland would be a place where they'd be able to gather numbers enough where they throw stones and projectiles at police and then firebomb a Citizens Advice Bureau office.
Well, they could have picked a number of places. Clearly we saw Hartlepool, we saw Aldershot, we saw other areas earlier in the week. You know, Sunderland is a proud working class town that clearly voted for Brexit, and that was the decision of the people of Sunderland to do that. And you know, people have been trying to play off the back of that to sow continued hate and division among our communities. That won't wash, and it's, you know, when Yobs could visit any town or city in the country and have a similar effect of what they did last night. They don't represent the city. Sunderland's open for business again, and we're building the future that the people of Sunderland want.
What works needs to be done then by you and by other politicians in the area to make sure that those people who, in your telling, have been manipulated by the far right to go out into the streets don't do that in future?
I think there's always work to do to build community cohesion and understanding, and I think that's something that has probably been neglected over the last 14 years or so. You know, we've had austerity, we've had reductions in public services and people's standards of living. That is in no way an excuse. But yes, the work of building community understanding and cohesion is important and needs to go on. But just to be clear, the Yobs that turned up last night, the thugs, had nothing to do with that. They're not sitting thinking, oh, I'm not sure that I agree on the policy of whatever it is. They're people that were intent to cause trouble with stirring up hate between different communities, and they won't win, and we'll throw the full force of the law against them.